We got some jaritos, drinking tamarindo. You got that mandarin. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
It's LA, right?
Raw like niggas with no latex, spitting venom in every verse, cause that's just how I do it. Don't
I've been in the game for a long time, but like compared to a lot of other chefs out there that had kind of a very perfect road, like you work for 3 great chefs and then you open your own spot, or you work at one kitchen and work your way up through the ranks and then become chef de cuisine and take over the place or whatever. Mine was, I think, a reflection of my life. It was herky-jerky, and I grew up in a restaurant, and then from there I left the business for a long time. I grew up as a kid, worked all throughout high school, left the business, and then came back to it when I was 25. So at 26 I ended up moving to New York, going to CIA. It wasn't that good, and I was just starting off, and I could have like stayed on, but I kind of jumped the ship and came out west, and then took a sous chef job that I wasn't ready for. So then from there it was like a long road of trying to figure out kind of my whole career, my style. All of my friends at that time started becoming, best new chefs. Covers of Gourmet, running small places in Manhattan, in Boston, in Chicago. And then for me, I ended up becoming a hotel chef, a seasoned, veteran kind of hardcore corporate hotel chef. And, that took me through about 10 years, and then at 38, I lost everything. And then so from there, Kogi started. So it's almost like this. It was like this rebirth. And Kogi bought me like 10 years of my lifetime. I feel like I'm flowing strong in the game.
This is born ready.
I think again you have to look at what happened in my life. Before Kogi started, I would say I was working to be a classical 4-star, 5-star hotel chef. I was a chef at the Beverly Hilton, working through the Golden Globe Awards. Kings of countries come and take over whole floors. I mean, it's not the sexy stuff that you see like on TV or in magazines and stuff. No one's really writing about, like weddings and buffets and things like that. But hey, like for me, that was my life. That was my, that's cooking too. Like the way I looked at it was, maybe you're writing about this, or maybe that's sexy, or maybe that chef is hot, but hey, I gotta feed 1,000 people right now. And that's food too. So my food was classical hotel, high-end and low-end and everyday food. Now it's kind of like starting over. Now I'm evolving into, I would say, it's LA food, creating a Los Angeles-based flavor that wraps around my whole life. So it's Latino, it's Korean, it's ghetto, but it's also high-end. It's flipping the script on everything, taking high-end approach in ingredients, but charging, low prices. It's taking the flavors of the streets and putting them in restaurants, and translating them through the restaurant. And so right now it's the flavor of Los Angeles. I eat breakfast with my fam, I cook at home. Then I come out and I go out to the streets, and for me it's like anything. It's either a taco from a cart, or a pupusa, or maybe like a warm piece of bread from like an El Salvadoran bakery. Then I'll hit up Koreatown, try to get some Korean food for lunch or even early dinner. I love eating like just stuff that's around. Like I love hitting burger stands, drinking milkshakes. So it's really Korean food, Mexican and El Salvadorian food, and then I'll hit up, I'll try to find some barbecue along the way. All of that is pretty much LA, and then from there, a nice burger. We got, beyond just In and Out, we got great burger stands here. Omega Burger, or Apollo Burger, or Astro Burger, and then you get milkshakes, pastrami's. I love like Lebanese and food and shawarma, so that's another big thing for me in LA. So it would be all of that.
Straight business. I'm a lyrical murderer, no witness.
I've never really had like a direct network. I bounced around a lot as a kid, so just to the point where I started to get into neighborhoods and kind of put my root down, I would, my parents would snatch me up and move me somewhere else. So I'll say I'm self-made. That doesn't mean that I didn't learn from people. I learned a lot along the way from different chefs. Not really chefs that you would know from a first-hand basis. But I learned a lot from great chefs within hotels. They taught me a lot about management, about how to serve, thousands and thousands of people. All this would have happened to me when I was 26. I would have been fucking balling. I've been poor as shit. I've been fucking girls left and right. I'd be up in the fucking club. I'd be wasting shit away and having a great time. We've been very selfish about it. We've been very egotistical about it. There would have been no soul behind it. I would have been just balling. But since it happened to me at 38, on the real, it came at a deeper time. I had a family. I have a life. I had a deeper understanding of things. I had lost and gained things many times over those years. And so what it did was I had absorbed a lot of energy through life, not only physical energy but spiritual energy. Going through what I've gone through and being throughout so many different cities and places in the world. And then what happened was it was finally a release and a translation of all of that. I was always destined to have ink in my life. I grew up as a Korean kid, so I was a very rebellious kid. But us as Korean kids, we have a really, really hard time growing up. Every race, every culture, whatever, you all have your own burdens. I'm not saying one is worse or more difficult than the other. But our burden is we always got to be the perfect kid, And so the burden is what if you ain't perfect? You know what I mean? And then the thing about in Korean and Asian culture is that you can never ever show that shit. I had some small little ink hidden, but finally when everything just kind of, came to be, I just started getting tatted up and just kind of putting on my arm stories that I built throughout my life. And then, been with a couple artists, main guys, my friend Heck one. But he told me something, he's like, you know what, with ink, it's just when it's time, it's time. Some people get it at 15, some people get it at 38, and so there's a lot of stories. This is kind of where I grew up in Koreatown. This is Olympic Boulevard. So on this arm, I'm kind of dedicating this whole arm to Los Angeles. It's becoming kind of like an urban kind of landscape jungle, kind of fantasy land. And you have the sesame leaves and the stoned out, green onion kind of growing up through the concrete. And then this is Frankenstein. He's just waiting for the bus. I got Kogi por Vida. And then on this arm, it's my family arm. Nicknames for my family, where my daughter was born. But eventually I'm going to finish this arm up. I'm going to come all the way through. It's going to be kind of a mural that represents the history of Los Angeles a little bit. That includes a lot of the Latino culture, the black culture in LA, and then also kind of the Asian culture. Right now, I'm no longer in control of that. As far as inspiration, or as far as driving that inspiration, it's hard to get across, through this language, this spoken word. Stuff comes to me now, not in my conscious form. I can see whole civilizations and communities and life in complete 3D form before it even exists. So what happens is then I become possessed to try to put that into existence. Just create a new culture. Then we just create something new together. And that's the way I look at food. Who the fuck are you to tell me what tradition I'm supposed to follow? And who the fuck are you to even know what tradition it is that you think you are bound to? It's all, if we create something new together, that's what all that history is there for. We're not living in the past, so That's what I'm driven by a lot.
Man, I feel it, I kill it. The blunt's always lit it. It doesn't even matter. Rock snapbacks and fitted. Admit it, you timid. Shot boy, forget it. In the presence of a